well, isn't this such a coincidence? I never imagined that we'd reunite with each other like this. I can't believe that you're the account manager of our subcontract company. You're right. This isn't exactly the kind of reunion I was expecting either. Well, I'm not surprised that you work under our company. It's a very fitting position for someone like you. I see that nothing has changed in the past 10 years. You're just as rude as you were back in high school. I was just surprised to come face to face with you like this, especially after all this time. How have you been? There's no need for me to answer that. It's none of your business. Anyways, why don't you go pick up some lunch for me or something? Fine, I was just trying to be courteous, but there's no need to answer my question. But I don't understand. Why should I have to go buy lunch for you? What? Don't you realize that you're in no position to talk back to me like that? Or maybe you should go back to kindergarten because it seems like you've forgotten how to follow orders. You can learn how to listen to authority figures from scratch again. It's been 10 years since we last saw each other, but you haven't changed one bit. In fact, you might be more immature now than you were back in high school. No, don't you get it? I was just trying to accommodate your level of intelligence, which is obviously much lower than mine. Anyways, just go and get me lunch already before my break is over. Otherwise, you'll end up losing this contract with our company. Are you sure that's what you want? How are you going to explain to your movie star manager that it was your fault this contract fell through? I can just imagine the outcome. You'll probably end up crying on your knees, begging for his forgiveness. It's a pretty big contract, so it's not something that can just be written off that easily. Huh? I don't know what sort of fantasy situation you have in your mind, but I hope you realize that those are all delusions. Do you honestly think that it's acceptable to cancel a contract over a lunch that you didn't get? That's completely unprofessional and in fact absurd. What's so absurd about that? I'm a very successful businesswoman. Unlike you, I actually make a difference in my company's performance, and my position is much valued here. That doesn't seem like a thing a professional business person would say. I'll just report to my managers that it was all your fault that we terminated the contract, so it won't be my problem to resolve. Besides, I know that they'll have my back no matter what, because that's how valuable I am to this company. I'll just tell them that we had to cancel your contract because of your disrespectful attitude. Is that really what you want to happen? I never said anything like that. Please don't try to put words in my mouth. Sure, whatever. Anyways, it's still hard to believe that we would end up doing business like this, don't you think? But in a way, it's quite funny because you're still in a position to take orders from me. It must be your fate to always be the errand girl. And don't worry, I'll make sure to send plenty of work your way, so you better be prepared to work hard. What are you talking about? I'm not here to run errands for you. This isn't high school anymore. I don't think that you should talk to me like we're still in school. We're not classmates anymore, but in fact, working professionals. You should at least have some common courtesy when we interact with each other regarding business matters. I can't believe that you have the nerve to talk back to me like that. Like I said, you're nothing but an errand girl to me, so don't try and act out of line. Why don't you consider your position more carefully before you even open your mouth? Wow, this conversation is really going nowhere. I'm just getting more and more exhausted the longer we keep this going. I already have enough on my plate trying to make up for your mistake. Oh, are you talking about the mistake I made on purpose? What do you mean by that? I was just doing you a favor and giving you something to work on. That's why I'll make an intentional error from time to time for you to fix. That's so unnecessary. Why would you even think to make extra work like that? Anyways, you came along with your predecessor yesterday, right? Yes. Was there some sort of problem with that? That handsome fellow? I heard that he was promoted to general manager. So that's why you're taking over as the account manager from now on, right? That's right, but how do you know all of that? It's almost like you were right there when HR made that announcement. Oh no, it's nothing like that. My information comes from a direct source. The good-looking man that used to be in charge of this contract is actually my boyfriend.
What?
You heard me. He's my boyfriend. But you seemed overly friendly with him during our meeting yesterday. I hope you're not trying to play any funny games with me. He's my man, so you better keep away from him.
I wasn't trying to steal him from you or anything. He and I have always acted like that with one another.
So what? Are you trying to say that you're closer to him than me?
Well, if we're talking about physical proximity, I guess you can say that I'm closer to him than anyone in the office.
Just because you guys work in the same office and get along with one another doesn't mean that you can make a move on him. He and I are soulmates, and we love each other very much. In fact, we went out just last night to celebrate our anniversary.
That's good for you, but that's really irrelevant to me right now.
Exactly. You just need to wait for my orders and do as I say.
Like I said, we're not in high school anymore, so I have no intention of obeying any of your ridiculous orders. Especially since you keep sabotaging my work performance on purpose.
Oh, how convenient that we're talking right now. I'm drinking with my friends, but we just ran out of drinks. Can you stop by the liquor store and bring it here?
Are you even listening to what I've been saying? I just finished telling you that I wasn't going to act as your personal servant.
Oh, and did I tell you how much fun I had on my date last night?
That's good for you.
But on the other hand, what about you? You're just dull and boring and only good for running menial errands at work. I bet you've never had a boyfriend, and most likely you'll spend the rest of your life all alone.
That's really none of your business, so just stay out of my personal matters, okay?
And besides, I bet you're not that good at your job, so haven't got much going for you, huh?
I'd appreciate it if you'd stop making assumptions like you know everything about me because you're completely wrong. Well, if there's nothing else left to discuss, I'd really like to get going now.
Yeah, right. It's not like you have any plans tonight or anything. I'd be surprised if you were actually planning to go out. Oh, and before I forget, let me just tell you that I'm one of the top employees in this office, and it's so satisfying to be doing work that gets praised all the time.
I don't really have the time to listen to you bragging about yourself.
Oh, and I'm so clever that I've even taken detailed notes about our internal affairs, so I always have them within reach.
Wouldn't that be considered a violation of privacy? What sort of inside knowledge are you talking about?
You know, like the details about our product development, for example. I can't believe that I'm the only one who thought to do something like this. But I just know that having this sort of information will come in handy one day. So it's better to take these measures early on, don't you think?
Wait, that's not the kind of information that should be made public under your own discretion, is it? And what do you mean that it'll come in handy one day? What are you planning to do with that information? You're not going to leak it to one of your competitors, are you?
Huh, you caught on quite fast, especially for a lowly errand girl.
Don't you know that it's a crime to leak confidential information like that?
A crime? You're just over-exaggerating. I haven't actually done anything with the information yet. I'm just getting everything ready for the right time, so there's no way that anyone's going to find out what I'm doing.
I wouldn't be so sure. Someone is bound to find out at some point. I know at least that you revealed to your boyfriend about your plan to sell company secrets over dinner last night. Your boyfriend, who also happens to be my manager.
Huh? But why do you know about what we were discussing?
Are you sure that you want to be leaking that sort of information to someone outside of your company? Don't you think that puts you in a pretty bad position?
Oh, be quiet. You don't even know what you're talking about. Aren't you even aware of your own position? It's not exactly your place to lecture me about this.
Well, let me ask you the same question then. Are you even aware of the huge mistake you've already made? Francesca, what you're trying to do is definitely a crime.
Don't make this into a bigger deal than it needs to be. Just wait for your next task like the obedient errand girl that you're supposed to be.
That's enough. Do you even know the difference between what is appropriate to say or not? Or do you still have the intelligence of just a high schooler? Even after all these years, you haven't matured one bit, have you?
I just thought that it would be an interesting topic for a discussion. That's why I brought it up with my boyfriend last night. Besides, what's wrong with two successful business people having an intelligent conversation over dinner? I wish I never mentioned it to you. Your remarks just completely ruined my mood. And I'm still waiting for the additional drinks I asked for earlier. How much longer do I have to wait? Now, you better buy me the most expensive bottle of wine that they have to make this up to me. What a great idea! I'll let you off the hook this time as long as you bring me the best wine that you can get your hands on. Oh, and if you decide to disobey my orders, you can forget about our contract.
It sounds like you're having trouble separating business and personal matters already. Perhaps you've had too much to drink. In that case, let me tell you something that will sober you up like a bucket of ice-cold water to your face.
What are you talking about?
My fiancé is your company CEO, as a matter of fact.
Huh? You're kidding, right? What do you mean by that?
Your company CEO and I are engaged to one another, and he happens to be right next to me now because we were just going over some wedding plans.
I don't understand what you're talking about. Where are you even getting those kinds of delusional ideas from?
And actually, the man that you were out with last night happens to be my older brother.
What?
As you know, my brother used to handle the contract with your company for years before me. He worked very closely with your CEO and they became good friends over the years. And he was actually the one who introduced me to my current fiancé, so we're both very much indebted to my brother.
Are you serious? My boyfriend is your brother?
Yup, and it even sounded like you two were getting along really well these days. Well, at least my brother seemed to be pretty serious about your relationship. Actually, I just messaged him to ask about everything you've told me. He's confirmed everything, and he's completely disappointed in you as well.
What? You're just making that up. Stop trying to play me just because you want to get back at me for taking advantage of you. There's no way that he's your brother. You don't even have the same last names.
You accused me of acting overly friendly with my manager during yesterday's meeting, but that's because he's my actual brother. We always joke around like that with each other. And we have different last names because we grew up separately after our parents' divorce, but we're in fact blood-related siblings.
Oh, I get it now. You're just jealous that his affection was no longer pointed towards you. Your attachment toward him is just excessive.
I'm not jealous, and it's not like I'm going to try and interfere with his personal relationships. As long as my brother is happy, I'm perfectly fine with that, no matter who his partner might be. But because of your recent behavior and what you told him, it seems that my brother no longer trusts you.
He doesn't trust me, but why?
Obviously because you tried to sell company secrets to a third party, which is absolutely unacceptable as a working professional. You should know that violating a company's privacy policy is a crime that you can be charged for. But you were basically bragging about what you were planning to do. Are you really that naive? Did you honestly think that your actions would go unpunished?
No, just take it easy for a second here. Obviously, I was just kidding about all of that. Can't you take a simple joke?
A joke? What part of your scheme were you actually joking about? Both my brother and I were quite convinced that you were serious about going through with your plan. Like you said, you even had detailed notes about your company's internal affairs, which you showed my brother. He may be your boyfriend, but don't forget that he doesn't work for the same company as you. And it's illegal to share that kind of information with an outsider. You're lucky that my brother is a proper businessman. If that kind of information were to fall into the hands of the wrong person, it would be a disaster for your company.
Aaron, come on, just calm down, okay? None of our company's information was leaked and everything is fine.
That's not the point. It doesn't make sense that you still risk your company's reputation.
And besides, we always used to joke and fool around like that. You know not to take me seriously for stuff like that. I never knew that you were so narrow-minded. So you'll tell your brother that this was all just a joke and clear up the misunderstanding for me, right?
It's too late to do anything about this now. There's a time and place for jokes like that, but it definitely isn't meant to be for business matters like this. You know that I don't like to fool around, and I've especially disliked your sense of humor since back when we were in high school. You might have been able to order me around back then, but I'm no longer the unconfident girl that I used to be.
Jeez, there's no need to get so worked up over this. What happened back in high school was all just a prank.
Just a prank. It sure didn't seem that way as the target of your so-called prank. Regardless, what took place back then is over and done with. But even as working professionals now, you were still trying to get me to run errands for you, no? It sure didn't seem like you were joking when you threatened to cancel our contract.
No, that was just a misunderstanding.
Either way, my brother and your CEO are both fully aware of the current situation. In fact, my fiancé just got a call from my brother, and I'm sure that you can imagine what that call was about.
Wait, so my CEO really knows what I was trying to do? What am I supposed to do now? Isn't this really bad for me?
He said that he'll meet with you directly to discuss what sort of measures will be taken against you.
No, you can't do this to me!
Oh, and the way you ordered me to bring you a bottle of expensive wine as courtesy? I'm gonna report that as well.
You didn't really think I was being serious about that, did you? What's wrong with you? Can't you even take a joke for once? It wasn't my intention for you to actually pay for that wine. It just came out sounding like that out of habit. We've known each other since high school, so I thought that we might have a mutual understanding at least.
Do you mean your habit of bullying me into running errands for you? So even as mature adults, you were still trying to bully me like back in high school? Is that your excuse?
Well, I never would have thought that you'd be engaged to our CEO. I really had no idea. And it's been years since we last saw each other, so I really was surprised to reunite with you like this. I guess you could say that I was happy to see a familiar face, but I also got a bit carried away.
Well, you can make whatever excuses you want, but it's a bit too late for that now.
Oh, please, don't say that. I'll apologize for everything I've said and done to you. And I'll apologize to our CEO directly as well.
I agree that apologizing to us would be the least you can do. However, it still doesn't change the fact that you've committed a crime. Isn't it true that you revealed company secrets to a third party and bragged about getting your hands on confidential documents?
The only person I showed them to was my boyfriend, and that's only because I trusted him to keep it a secret. It was never my intention to do any harm. I just wanted to add some excitement to our conversation. And more importantly, I didn't want to keep any secrets between us as a couple.
Why don't you stop with the lame excuses already? It looks like the first mistake you made was to let my brother in on your scheme. In case you didn't know, he's a very righteous person and is very judgmental about people who don't take responsibility for their actions.
Oh my gosh, this can't be happening. He just messaged me that he wants to break up. I thought that we'd end up getting married, but everything is ruined now. I hope you know that this is all your fault. You should have just kept quiet and followed my orders. Then none of this would have ever happened.
So what, now you want to blame me for your failures? You acted under your own discretion, Francesca, and I hope you know that what you've done is something that you can be prosecuted for. If you have the time to place the blame on someone else, why don't you just admit to your mistakes and try to make something better of yourself?
I'm sorry, okay? I completely regret what I've done now, but no harm was done. Can we just forget that any of this ever happened?
It looks like you'll no longer be able to consider yourself a so-called valuable employee. I'm sure that you'll be let go for what you've done, so good luck looking for a new job.
No, there's no way I can go through the job hunting process again. I was finally able to land this job in a top corporation after so many unsuccessful interviews, and I've worked so hard to earn my position here. I didn't actually leak any of the details, so there's no problem to begin with, is there?
It doesn't seem like you truly comprehend the meaning of the term company secrets. Perhaps you should go back to your training manual for new employees and familiarize yourself with the company policies again. Oh, but you're no longer going to have that job, so I guess it would just be a waste of time.
I can't lose this job. I'm truly sorry for what I've done. Just please let me keep this job.
It's not up to me to decide what will happen to you, so I don't know why you keep apologizing to me. And it's really a shame that you're getting a 1-2 punch by losing your job and your boyfriend at the same time.
I don't want to break up with him over this. Can't you at least try to talk your brother out of his decision? Please, I'm begging you. You're the only one who can mend our relationship right now. And who knows, we might even become sisters in the future.
Oh, no way. That's like the last thing I would hope for.
What? But I thought we were friends.
Is that what you think? Oh, and by the way, I've also told my brother about the way you treated me back in high school.
Why would you do that? If he finds out, he's going to be completely disappointed in me.
He was already disappointed by your behavior during dinner last night, but let me tell you that he's beyond turned off now. It's too bad, isn't it? Especially when things between you and my brother were looking really good. Boy, am I glad that all of this came up before you and my brother tied the knot. I know I wished you the best in looking for a new job, but on top of that, good luck looking for a new husband as well. What's wrong? Don't you have anything to say in response? I guess you finally reached the last of your objections. Or rather, there's nothing left for you to say that will refute these claims. It took you long enough, but I guess you're finally ready to acknowledge your defeat. As expected, Francesca was called into the office first thing the next morning by her manager, where she underwent an intense and thorough questioning about what took place. Although there was no information that was actually leaked, it was obvious that she had the intent to do so. Thanks to the statement by my brother, as well as the detailed notes with company secrets that she had in hand, it didn't take long to decide that she should be let go immediately. Unable to accept her punishment, she stormed into the CEO's office to negotiate with him directly. She apologized profusely on her knees, but to no effect. Francesca was not aware of this, but her CEO already knew about the way she bullied Aaron back in high school. Unable to forgive anyone who had hurt his fiancée, whether it had taken place in the past or not, he completely ignored her for the entire 30 minutes that she was in his office. He hardly met her gaze and didn't even give her explanation any sort of consideration. His mind was already made up, and there was nothing she could say or do to change it. Francesca's boyfriend, who also happened to be Aaron's older brother, dumped her right after with no regrets whatsoever on his part. Completely devastated that she lost her job and boyfriend all at once, Francesca was completely lost with no one to rely on. Apparently, she's frantically looking for a new job now, accepting any and all positions that will give her the chance for an interview. But call it karma, or more realistically, the influence that her former employer has on the industry, but she hasn't been able to get past an initial interview anywhere yet. Hopefully, she's able to secure some means of income soon, otherwise she won't be able to pay the next month's rent on time. If only she'd thought about the consequences before acting so foolishly. So, what do you think? Francesca's probably kicking herself right now for being so immature and wishing that she can go back in time to do high school over again. But what's done is done, and it's too late for regrets now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to see more content.